Certainly one driver who did find the speed today was Danny Sullivan. There was a question as to whether he would even qualify the car. They had Geoff Brabham standing by. He has been testing in the car. However, when it came time to qualify, Danny Sullivan was on the track and taking the green flag. He was carrying a special brace on that right forearm that he broke a week ago Thursday in the crash.
You know, this is interesting. Sullivan has never been hurt in a racing car in his entire racing career. And there were whispers that this might affect his driving, might affect his career. His first lap, as we'll see in a moment, was fairly slow. But as he got confidence and as he learned that the adjustments they've made to the car to adapt for his limited movement of his right arm, he started to go. He's a real racer.
They call him Hollywood Danny Sullivan, but if there was ever any doubt as to whether he was a race driver, he proved it today. Coming back from that injury that he suffered and doing quite well in the qualification effort. He's about to complete lap number 1 of 4 on the qualification run. Danny is, of course, the defending Kart PPG IndyCar World Champion, having won that title last year on both ovals and on road courses. Now, that first lap of qualifying, as Chris mentioned, wasn't all that great. It was only, shall we say, 214.715 miles an hour. But as you will see, he picks that speed up considerably in the next 3 laps.
You know, that first lap, Bob, was faster than he'd ever gone here all month. And there's Geoff Brabham, the Australian driver, watching very intently, because what Sullivan does is very important to Brabham. He's the standby driver. And if it turns out that Sullivan, because of that broken right arm, cannot go 500 miles, Brabham is the designated replacement.
Danny Sullivan completes lap number 2 of qualifying, and he picked up lap number 2 over 3 miles an hour over lap number 1. Second lap of qualifying was way up there to 216.753 miles an hour, an increase of 2 miles an hour, and so Danny Sullivan was averaging over 215 for 2 laps.
Well, he's getting his confidence back at this point in the qualifying run, and you wonder, Bob, what's going through his mind when he passes that section on the wall he hit so hard in his crash last Thursday.
Danny Sullivan comes down and takes the white flag from Dwayne Sweeney, indicating 1 more lap to go on the qualifying run. Roger Penske checking the stopwatches with members of his crew to see exactly how Danny Sullivan is doing. That third lap was a little bit slower than lap number 2, but it was still above 216 miles an hour. It was 216.492, and so the average of 3 laps was almost 216 miles an hour.
It's a tribute to the car, to the team, and more importantly to Sullivan. They had to make a special brace. A brace like this for his arm has never been made before. I guess if he were going to a doctor's in New York City, he'd had a $20,000 medical bill for that particular brace, because it allows him to do certain things that would impede his orthopedic healing and yet restricts the motion where he can't hurt it.
The checkered flag falls for Danny Sullivan, and he becomes so far the fastest qualifier of the day. His 4th lap was 216.159 as Roger Penske reacted to the run and congratulates other members of the team. 4th lap 216.1, and the 4-lap average was 216.027. Down on the start-finish line, Gary Lee talked with Danny Sullivan when he came in from the qualification run.
I'm glad it's over, but it had some difficult moments to it, just physically, and just it's a matter of adapting in the car and getting the steering right, and the wind was blowing a little bit, and so I didn't know if it was my hands doing it or the wind blowing me around, but it worked out okay.
Were you cognizant that the second lap was sufficiently faster than that first circuit?
Yeah, this is the first time I've taken the radio communication, because we had to know now. Normally I just go out and drive as hard as I can in a qualifying run, but here I had to I just had to know what I was capable of doing and get in the field.
Welcome back. A great ride.
Thanks. It's great to be here, I tell you.
Big smile.
Now the question becomes, what happens to the substitute driver, Geoff Brabham? For that story, let's go to our other pit reporter for the afternoon, Larry Nuber.
Well, Bob, this is a very unusual situation. I'm standing by in the pit area of Roger Penske with a driver who's getting probably the most attention of everybody out here, and he probably won't be a qualifier this afternoon, Geoff Brabham. Geoff has been over 217 miles per hour, but Roger Penske is telling me, no, we're not going to qualify Geoff for the race.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, that's the case. I'm just kind of the designated Penske pitch hitter right now, and you know, Danny's really doing good, and I really don't expect him to really have any problems in the race. But you know, Roger's kind enough to let me run around, at least get up to speed and see what it's all about, just in case I'm needed.
As the DH, that means you'll be standing by on race day?
Well, we don't know. We really haven't sat down and discussed our plans yet. It's really the first thing in order was to get Danny out in the car and let him run, and he did some consecutive laps today, and we're going to see how he feels and sit down and have a sort of post-mortem, so to speak, and you know, we'll see who drives the Miller car on Sunday, but I think it's going to be Danny, unfortunately.
Now, Geoff, maybe you're not the one to ask this question of, but we're getting close to happy hour here. I mean, all the serious contenders to qualify are out on the racetrack. The sun is going down, the track is getting quicker. Why are you out now? Why didn't they have you out at 2 p.m.?
Well, just basically they wanted to give Danny some time in the car first, and then they wanted just to use me to scrub some tires in, and I did that on the PC-17, and now I'm going to go out in the PC-18 for the first time. I haven't been in that car right now, and just run it around for a few laps, see what it feels like, just in case I have to hop into it.
Well, Geoff has to run an IMSA race in Lime Rock, Connecticut the day after the Indianapolis 500. He has to qualify for that race 2 days before it, and everything does synchronize. He can complete both events in total. Bob and Chris?
Well, let's hope that something works out for Geoff Brabham, who has had the substitute role before. He substituted for John Paul Jr. a few years back and drove the car to a fourth-place finish.
I guess what's going on, Bob, is it's like breaking in a new pair of shoes. Geoff Brabham is not going to have much time in the PC-18 because Sullivan needs to be in that car. So the alternate PC-18 that Rick Mears' backup car is being brought out for Geoff Brabham to work out so he gets used to that particular piece of machinery.
It's a story that we will continue to follow in this third day of qualification activity here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Almost 90 more minutes of qualifying left to go, and we'll be back in a moment.
But the man of the moment throughout the month has been Danny Sullivan. A freak crash during practice left the 85 winner with a concussion and a broken right forearm. While his team prepared a backup mount, Danny went under the knife to get ready for the race. Doctors took bone from his elbow, combined it with a steel plate, and fashioned a brace to withstand the rigors of Indy. Sullivan's moment came 8 days ago when he was put to the test. A qualifying run of over 216 earned him a spot in the race and left the team much relieved, if but just for the moment. But the many moments of May are pale in comparison to the moments of today, the 73rd rendition of the Indianapolis 500.
Well, the speculating is over. The question to Danny Sullivan is can your right arm take 800 left turns?
Well, we hope so. Dr. Trammell just came in and kind of redid it and put all the sensors and everything on because I got a little electric shock going to it out of a TENS unit. He said it would last 2.5 hours or 500 miles, whichever came first. So we're going to go give it our best shot.
There have been some modifications to your steering wheel. What's been done there?
Well, we shaved down the right side to make it a little thinner so I could get my hand in there with the brace and get it around the steering wheel. We put a ramp on it so that I had something to push against. And then we angled the steering wheel a little bit more upright so I didn't have to bend my wrist at all to get around it.
Roger Penske is confident that Danny can go the distance. There is no relief driver standing by here today. Paul?
And USAC Sprint and Midget champion Rich Vogler. Danny Sullivan works his way around the track. Let's get an update on his physical condition. Here's Jerry Pfeiffer.
Well, Paul, 17 days ago, Danny Sullivan was lying on an operating room table in nearby Methodist Hospital, his shattered right forearm being pieced together by this steel plate and these metal bolts. Now, Sullivan has been cleared to drive, but he must wear a specific special splint that will limit the use of his right arm. Now, what he can do, he can extend his hand at the wrist just a couple of degrees to grasp the wheel. What he cannot do is rotate his right forearm in or out. That may create a problem as he tries to make his way onto and off of pit road. Now, just moments ago as he climbed in the car, I was privileged to a conversation between him and his orthopedist, Terry Trammell. He asked Trammell one question, very simply: what can I expect? Trammell's response was one word: pain. He said as the afternoon progresses, that right forearm will begin to swell inside the splint. It will begin to throb and pulsate. The pain could become almost unbearable. No one, not even Danny Sullivan, knows if he can tolerate the torment. Paul, those questions and many more will be answered a little over 3 hours from now when the checkered flag falls.
All right, so we'll be watching for Danny Sullivan. Michael, and the fight developed behind him. Let's go to the pits. Jackaroo.
Well, this is Jackaroo down on pit road, and there is a problem that has befallen Danny Sullivan and Team Penske. They came in for a regularly scheduled pit stop just about 4 laps ago. They changed tires. They checked with him and asked him how his arm was feeling. He didn't even mention it. But they have brought the car back here onto pit road, and they are concentrating on the rear. And it looks as if they may have possibly had a problem with the rear end, maybe the ring and pinion gears. Sullivan has killed the engine. He is consulting with his crew right now. He has lifted the visor, and this will certainly put him out of the running to score his second Indianapolis 500, Paul Page.
Danny Sullivan with a terribly long stop as we continue to watch this fight between Little Al and Rick Mears. Bobby Unser, you noticed something in the pit.
Yes, I did, Paul. I just watched them. Another sorrow thing for the Porsche people. I just watched them push their car back into the garage area. So they've obviously dropped out with a mechanical failure of some sort.
We continue to watch.
Big wicker bill on the back. There's Danny Sullivan back in the pits again. And then the other car has of Emerson Fittipaldi has the big wing with the small wicker bill. Totally two different concepts.
Jackaroo is down with Danny Sullivan. Jack?
And Sam, I'm sure Danny Sullivan is somewhat relieved to have this month of May over. A faulty clutch push out of the race.
Yeah, I lost all the drive. It just coming down the straightaway, I was on the gas and just spinning, so figured I wasn't getting wheel spin at that speed. The Chevrolet wasn't quite that strong.
The question about the arm. You didn't stay in very long, but how does it feel?
Feels okay. I didn't seem like having problems. We had just started to adjust the car. We had a radio problem. I didn't like losing a lap early on, but we would have been okay.
Now, for Team Penske, there doesn't seem to be the domination that we've seen in other years. Fittipaldi has broken to the front. Have maybe the Penske team missed the setup just a little bit this morning?
Well, it's a long race. We're not very far into it. Don't forget, last year I ran away early on and hid, and Rick and Al came back, so we'll see.
To reinforce
Danny Sullivan, a man who also had his problems at Indianapolis. By the way, Kevin Cogan started 15th. He's now running 11th. Danny Sullivan, well, he runs with that fractured right arm. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
Well, Paul, as you know, Sullivan ran the 500-mile race with a special brace and a steel plate across his arm. Well, he continues to run with that here. The steering wheel, just as at Indianapolis, has been adjusted so that he can hook into it, but it's a lot tougher to run here at Milwaukee with that type because you're turning so much harder. But here's what Sullivan has been doing to get ready for Milwaukee. This is 15 pounds, a barbell. These are the exercises that Sullivan does with a broken arm. 20 repetitions of this, 3 times.
Matter of fact, a friend of mine was over at the gym with Danny and said he can't do those repetitions with a good arm, and he also works out every week. Green flag. Danny Sullivan driving, of course, with a fractured right arm. He tried to drive Indy with that arm. We asked him, what does he think about it? What about the pain with his arm?
You think about it quite a bit going, and once you get in the car, then once you're driving, you're not as aware of it. I thought about it once during the race in Indianapolis because I got into kind of a boring part where there weren't any cars around. I'm just going down and thinking, it's hurting, but it's not hurting that bad, you know. Well, maybe we're going to be okay, even though it was early in the race. And I think that's the big thing here. If you're in a green race, which we've had quite a bit of here, and you're running strong or even just running a lot, I don't think you're going to think about it as much. It'd be when we have a long yellow and you're sitting in there going, wow, this thing's really starting to throb, and you can't kind of get away from it by you mentally escaping with the racing.
Danny Sullivan still works his way around, still battles with Teo Fabi. That's Bernard Jourdain. They both just moved inside. Bernard slides in behind, tries to hook on.
There's competition here on the track, and then there's some back in the pits too, because never forget that the crew chief, person leading that Porsche team, is Derek Walker, who was Danny Sullivan's crew chief last year. So he left the Penske team. You see little Al.
Continuing to watch the fight in front of Bobby Rahal between Danny Sullivan and Mario Andretti for 8th place. Let's go to the pits. Here's Jack.
Well, let me update you on Danny Sullivan. He radioed in just before that last pit stop that he was in severe pain. The car was loose, as you know, and it meant that he had to turn the wheel a great deal.
He just got past Mario Andretti, Jack. He's driving a superb race, considering.
Well, let me explain to you what they did on that pit stop. They adjusted the wing, tried to tighten the car up. He radioed in about 2 minutes ago. The car feels much better. I think I can drive it a little bit harder.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing, because he moved past Mario Andretti and picked up a position, now running in 8th.
You know, Bobby made a point earlier that Danny was running some unusual lines. I think it may have had less to do with the handling and more to do with the fact he was trying to seek out smooth places on the track. Very bumpy track, as you pointed out, Bobby, but there is a line around here, a shallow one, where it's a little smoother.
Now we're up. 4th is Sullivan, doing an outstanding job. In the final final practice period yesterday, which is the time they usually run on full tanks, he was 3rd fastest, but you don't know if they really had them filled all the way or not. But indeed, he looked very impressive. Sore arm, and I can't believe they've cut away part of the steering wheel for him, that he's going to have a very pleasant afternoon here in Detroit. He's hurting some.
Well, it could be. Get down to the end of this thing. It's, you know, the adrenaline and the things that you can do, superhuman almost, occasionally out there, that will tell toward the end of the race.
1 lap to green.
And I think if there's too many caution flags, that will in fact probably play, although it'll give him a bit of a break, I think if it delays the race and makes it longer, in some ways it could be worse for him.
Could be. Get set for this restart. There's Danny Sullivan. What an outstanding athlete he is. Thursday, Danny Sullivan was in to see the doctors for a special road course adjustment here.
Well, it's an all-new cast, and the other one started just below my elbow and ran all the way over my knuckles on my hand and wouldn't allow any movement at all on the arm. This one just is a short cast that covers the break on my forearm, has a little extension, goes up to the back of the hand so I can't come back too far. So it's a completely new brace.
Last time I saw an all-new cast, it was in 42nd Street.
See if we can get a look at that steering wheel. There's the modified steering wheel, gentlemen, that he's using today.
I tell you, he's got his work cut out around here. There's very tight corners, so he has to move that steering wheel a long way to get it around these corners. Like Indy, for instance, the wheel movement is very small. Here, it's every single one of these corners. You've got to turn the wheel a heck of a long way.
Full lock both directions.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get to full lock, or if you did, you'd be in serious trouble. But it is a substantial turn. You would go probably 180 degrees with the steering wheel one way or the other.
I believe Tom Snead was saying he had one or he was crossed all the way over here.
Yeah, coming into Cobo Hall for sure, you know, Atwater Tunnel. And, of course, you got to shift gear 30-odd times away.
Yes. An update from Chris Economaki.
Well, Dr. Terry Trammell, who treats Danny Sullivan, after seeing the beating that drivers take on this circuit, had second thoughts this morning about letting Sullivan start. They had a discussion, and they talked back and forth, and the doctor finally gave in and let Danny start. But for a while there, he wanted him to stay out of the car. That's how tough this racetrack is. Back to you.
Danny's very concerned today, Chris, about his arm and how it's going to work for this many laps. That's not particularly with as many hard right-hand turns as we have here. Mike Joe. Here's Chris.
I'm down in Danny Sullivan's pit, and this is Tim Bumps as he's talking to Danny right now. Sullivan has been telling the people in the pits here that he can't believe the bumps on the circuit. He's looking very good on the racetrack, but apparently he's not feeling all that well. Maybe we can find out from Bumps here exactly what Sullivan is talking about here. But Bumps is concerned with his work. You can see the concentration on the crew chief's face here as he's trying to decipher what is being said by his driver out on the circuit. Here at Detroit, with these big buildings, there's only certain areas on the track the radios work, and they fade away when they go behind some of the buildings. Oh, well, I guess we're going to have to wait on Bumps, and we'll catch him a little bit later on. Back to you, Ken.
Michael, there's a long way to go. There's at least one more pit stop. And, of course, they can have all sorts of caution flags.
Sullivan pitting. Third place car, number 1. Danny Sullivan on pit road. Here's Chris.
Well, the story here in the Sullivan pit, and here is Danny Sullivan rolling to a stop right now in front of us. I don't know whether it's a car or a driver problem, but they're talking to him. They're not working on the car. And I guess it's Danny has had his day here. They're taking him out. We'll get a word with him when he steps out of the car. Tough break. He was up to third place and doing a magnificent job out there. And you can see the attention that the crew is giving Danny Sullivan, getting him out of the car. You've seen how he has to get out with just one hand helping him. His right hand is useless here towards the extrication process. As we said earlier, the doctor had second thoughts about letting him go, and perhaps maybe the doctor was right. All right. Yes, I'm moving in here and hope to get a word with him. Tough day, Danny?
Yeah, just a lot of problems with the arm. And Dr. Trammell He x-rayed it again this morning, and it's starting to separate again.
Oh, my,
Pulling
you
up
did
on-
a great job out there, moving past guys up to third place. It must kill you to have to pull in.
Yeah, because, you know, it's good and everybody's worked that hard. And you know, the guys worked hard and the car was good, just to sacrifice that.
How much pain is there, Danny?
Well, it's as much as I've had since I broke it, so there's just no peace around here. There's no plates, and I nearly hit the wall twice on left-handers because I couldn't turn it enough.
Oh, you're smart. Good luck to you, and thanks so much for your time. Better luck next time. Danny Sullivan, a pained look on his face out of today's race after moving to third place. Back to you, Ken.
Started 7th, moved to 3rd, and the arm finally ends the hopes of Danny Sullivan of having a good finish here today.
Well, of course, the other thing is
6.
The thing in racing too is, I mean, a racing driver's got to live, you know, and run away sometimes to live to fight another day, because there's no point. I mean, he's got a very heavy schedule. They got Portland next week, Cleveland the week after. There's no point in just re-breaking the arm again.
Let's go to the pits. Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, a year ago, Danny Sullivan, of course, was driving out of this pit for Roger Penske. He got a victory here at Portland. Today, he's on the sideline. Doctor's orders. He's got to rest that broken forearm suffered in the Indy practice crash a month or so ago. Geoff Brabham gets a one-shot try today for Roger Penske. He's qualified the car in the second row. Brabham has absolutely dominated the IMSA circuit the last 2 years. He's won 15 of the last 20 events. But in 85 times in an Indy car, he has never been a winner. He's come close. He told me just a short time ago he knows that he has the best opportunity today that he's ever had in an Indy car.
And what a fantastically awe-inspiring sight.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of pressure, not only from the team and Miller and all Penske's organization, but for myself, because I feel this is the best opportunity I've ever had, the best car, the best team, and it's a one-shot deal, so it's now or never.
Well, Geoff Brabham confident, he's quick, he's in the second row, he knows he's going to make the best of this one-shot opportunity, Paul.
There is Geoff Brabham. He, of course, is in this car because Danny Sullivan is still having trouble with his broken arm. He brought the car in early a week ago in Detroit. So it's cost him at least this race and another. Let's get an update from Jack Arute.
Danny Sullivan's bone-breaking crash during Indy 500 practice has required more than the orthopedic expertise of Dr. Terry Trammell. Pain and time have exacted their toll on the kart world champion.
If I was going to have to break my arm, Indy was the best place to do it in terms of the track, because it's one of the easiest tracks we do in terms of driver effort around the track. I don't necessarily say I would have been a threat late in the race, but I think I could have done, of all the races, I think I could have finished there easier than any place.
At Milwaukee, Sullivan expected discomfort, but hoped physical therapy would enable him to survive and possibly win.
The kickback in the wheel, the vibration, the track is a lot more physical, being a 1 mile oval. Just how much I depended on that right arm. And I started the race and ran as high as 4th, and I thought, well, this isn't too bad. But then when the car started getting loose, I couldn't correct properly with the wheel. I wasn't functioning properly in the car. So I had to consequently slow down. Then the vibration was bad. Then I had a tire vibration, and it just seemed to magnify. And you realized how much was coming back through that wheel right onto the brake, and that it was going to be a real problem in Detroit.
Last weekend, though, his worst fears were confirmed. A 17-turn bumpy road course wrestled Sullivan's arm and won.
Detroit, of all the places, probably the absolute worst to start. If I had gone to another track that was a little smoother and maybe not as many corners, then we probably would have been better off. But that was just too hard on it. And then, of course, the bones started to separate, and Dr. Trammell grounded me. Dr. Trammell had told me what the consequences can be. I'd look kind of silly to stick it in the wall or have an incident with somebody else because of my arm. So I just thought maybe it's better just to go out right now, park it, and be done with it for a while.
Danny accepted his fate and has stepped aside for 2 races, giving way to Geoff Brabham here and Al Unser Sr. at Cleveland. No longer at the wheel, he came here Friday to watch.
I'm not a good spectator. Some people can stand there and watch, and I wish everybody the best, but it's not going to change anything, me being here, and it just kind of eats at you being here here at a place that I really enjoy. I've had a couple poles here. Led all the races I've been in here. I won here last year. You're defending champ. I love the people of Portland. Everything's really good. And to come back here and just walk around is something I can't handle. So I'm going to watch a little practice and then go home.
Danny Sullivan, a spectator at Portland today, replaced by Geoff Brabham, who works his way around with the rest of the cars on a course that is badly torn up.
Thank you very much, Gary. Well, today marks the return of IndyCar champion Danny Sullivan. He's been a driver who's been sorely missed by his team for the past 4 weeks. Danny, who you may recall, broke his right forearm during a practice lap at Indianapolis in May, and since that time the doctors have asked him to sit out the last 2 races in hopes that his arm would heal. And that's because in Detroit, when he drove the car with a fractured arm, they found that the bone was separating a little bit, so they asked him not to drive at Portland and Cleveland. He complied, but he's here today and he's wearing a 9-inch cast. He says it's a little painful for him and he may have trouble making those right-hand turns, but he's determined to finish. Now the question is, how well will Danny drive? Well, it looks like practice makes perfect, because during the last practice session, Danny finished 3rd fastest. So he's going to be a driver to watch today at the Meadowlands. Now let's go back.
All right, it's Emerson Fittipaldi as he continuously. Taylor Buckley is running 2nd. Rick Mears is 3rd. Danny Sullivan is in 4th. Let's go down to Sally Larkin.
Well, Danny Sullivan is using his head in this race. He's also using his arm, because this is the first time since his accident in Indianapolis that he is driving without his brace. He had a practice test at Elkhart Lake a couple of weeks ago, and he went 300 miles without any problems, so he thought that this would be a cinch. He practiced without the brace all weekend. He says it feels fine and he's ready to go. And if you're not confident that he can drive without his brace, well, let me tell you a little story. A couple of days ago, he had a volleyball game in which he won it without his brace. He said that was the biggest win he ever had in a long time. Back to you, Charlie.
I understand, though, that he did want to put the brace on when he was spiking the ball, though, because he could push it away.
Harry Lyndike he's done a great job. Didn't qualify that well. Under a lot of pressure with this team, and I don't think he signed his contract for 1990 as well. So this should give him some negotiating power if we can bring this one home.
You've spoken like a true driver when you say that. Right now, the drivers' race, Fittipaldi led 65 laps, Mears 64. So Fittipaldi right now has that 1 point. 1 lap to go. And it is Danny Sullivan. And now he leads Rick Mears by just over 3 seconds in the final lap. 3 turns at Pocono, the longest lap of the afternoon for Danny Sullivan.
Well, he's probably feeling pretty good right now. He's got some traffic in front of him, though. He's got to be careful. Anybody makes his mistake in front of him, and, he gets a bad result.
Sullivan and Rick Mears. Penske will win it either way. And you'll have the double dip. It looks as if he's going to pick out 1st and 2nd.
There it is.
And there it is, a checkered flag. And Rick Mears comes in 2nd. That is the 12th career IndyCar victory for Danny Sullivan. Michael Andretti finishes 3rd. And Teo Fabi comes in 4th. And the celebration has already begun in the pit of Danny Sullivan. And here is Mario Andretti, and he will end up 5th at the Pocono 500. So the Andretti boys, father and son, Michael 3rd, and Mario 5th. The Pocono 500, and Danny Sullivan caps it with his comeback.
Well, here we are, the crew jubilant, as you could well imagine. That's always the case at Pocono, but the man with the most joy in his heart has got to be the man in red and white and gold. Down underneath, still embedded deep in this cockpit, Danny Sullivan. It has been some year. The crash at Indianapolis, the broken arm, battling to come back, battling a racetrack. A man who won here in 1984, up out of the cockpit now, and a great celebration is going on. And as soon as he can get that helmet unbuckled a little bit, we'll try to get a word with Danny Sullivan. He anxiously peels off the gloves, now goes up there to the headgear and starts to pull it away, to the accolades of a great crowd here on a Pennsylvania Quaker State afternoon. The balaclava comes off, the earplugs are out. Danny Sullivan is here in exultation. Julie Ninny, his longtime friend alongside. And Danny,
I don't know. He gets the sip of brew. What it must feel like after coming back through this year. Can you put it in words right now?
No, not really. I didn't think I was going to win it. I thought for sure when Rick was behind me, I thought, that's it. Rick's got me, you know, because he'd been running so good all day, and then we just got some breaks and pulled away, and God, it was great. Just great.
When you had the injury and you went through the convalescence and you tried to get back and you battled the road courses and then you had to give it up for a couple of races, in your own mind, how long did you think it might be before you could get back to victory lane?
Well, after Toronto, you know, I knew I could go quick, but I didn't know if I could do it for a whole race. And, you know, we stayed on the leaderboard all day here, and I tell you, my wrists were getting sore, this right one. And I thought, boy, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But, you know, with 10 laps to go, and all of a sudden we were in the lead. You got that second. Thanks. God, thanks to everybody.
Sullivan is obviously delighted. He is elated. Let's go to Sally Larvick now. Sally.